I had been with the company for over 20 years, working my way from a junior analyst to a senior manager. I knew the ins and outs of the business, the people, and the clients. My experience was my strength, or so I thought. One Thursday morning, I was called into the HR office. The conversation started normally, but soon, the words hit me like a punch to the gut. We think it's time for a younger perspective. You're just too old for this role. I was stunned. Too old? After 2 decades of loyalty and results, this was how the company valued me? I tried to argue, showing my performance metrics and successful projects, but HR's response was firm and cold. They handed me my termination letter and a small severance package. The humiliation was overwhelming. As I packed my office, memories of my career flooded back. The late nights, the client crises, the mentorship I provided, and the projects I had led to success. It felt like all that hard work had been erased with a single, dismissive phrase. I walked out of the building holding my box of personal items, a mix of anger and disbelief churning in my chest. But while the world saw me as outdated, I refused to see myself that way. I knew my worth wasn't defined by someone else's narrow view of age. That very night, I sat at my kitchen table, thinking about the future. If they didn't value my experience, I would create a space that did. I wouldn't just bounce back. I would come back stronger, smarter, and in a position they could never ignore. I didn't yet know how, but I was determined. Their underestimation would be the fuel for my revenge. Little did I know, the events of the next few days would change everything. The days after my termination were a blur of shock and disbelief. I kept replaying the HR meeting in my mind, their words echoing like a slap I couldn't forget. You're too old for this role. At first, anger consumed me. How dare they dismiss decades of hard work, loyalty, and proven results because of a number? But after the initial storm passed, clarity emerged. Anger was useless unless it became fuel for action. I spent hours analyzing the company's structure from the outside. Despite its polished image and successful campaigns, cracks were visible. Mismanaged projects, frustrated clients, and poor internal communication. My experience had given me knowledge others overlooked, and I realized I could use it to my advantage. Next, I reached out discreetly to former colleagues and trusted clients. These people knew my capabilities and respected my judgment. Conversations were casual at first. Coffee meetings, quick calls, but I was gathering intelligence and subtly testing the waters. Every discussion reinforced a thought that had begun forming in my mind. I wasn't powerless. I had resources, knowledge, and relationships that could shift the balance of power. Financial preparation was next. I reviewed my savings, investments, and potential loan options. The daring idea crystallized. What if I could buy a stake in the company, enough to influence its operations, maybe even take the helm? It was audacious, risky, but exciting. Each night I mapped out a plan, listing steps to regain influence, secure allies, identify leverage points, and position myself as indispensable. The humiliation of being fired had transformed into focus and determination. Every slight, every dismissive word became a reminder. I would not just return. I would return stronger, smarter, and untouchable. By the end of the week, the fire inside me was unstoppable. I wasn't merely planning a comeback. I was plotting a takeover. The people who thought age defined me had no idea what was coming. Armed with a plan, I began taking deliberate steps to reclaim control. The first move was subtle, rebuilding my network and strengthening my reputation. I reached out to key clients the company had been neglecting, offering advice and assistance under the guise of casual guidance. Within days, several clients expressed gratitude and hinted they had been frustrated with the company's recent management. I quietly documented every success, every positive reaction, building a portfolio of influence outside the company walls. Next, I turned my attention to potential financial leverage. I met with investors and explored avenues for acquiring a stake in the company. The conversations were challenging. Some laughed at the idea of an ex-employee turning into an owner, while others were intrigued by my deep knowledge of the company and market. Slowly, momentum built. I realized that patience and persistence were as important as strategy. Meanwhile, I continued tracking the company's internal issues. I noticed rising tensions between management and staff, delayed projects, and an over-reliance on inexperienced leaders. Each misstep was an opportunity to show that I could do better. Quietly, I began suggesting solutions to contacts still within the company, offering guidance without appearing to interfere, positioning myself as indispensable even from the outside. The culmination of these efforts came on a Thursday afternoon. I had secured agreements from a small group of investors willing to fund a purchase of shares. With their support, I approached the board with a proposition. I would buy a controlling stake and restructure the company, ensuring stability and growth. The irony wasn't lost on me. They had dismissed me as too old to lead. Yet here I was, preparing to become the very person in charge. That night, as I reviewed my strategy and investor commitments, a sense of satisfaction replaced the anger I had felt just days before. The plan was working. In less than 2 weeks, the tables were about to turn. The day I walked into the boardroom to finalize the deal, I felt a mixture of nerves and exhilaration. The same executives who had dismissed me were there, unaware of the power shift about to take place. I carried myself with calm confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you have the upper hand. As the meeting began, I presented my proposal. I outlined my plan to purchase a controlling stake, restructure management, and implement operational improvements. I spoke with precision, highlighting the weaknesses I had observed and the strategies I had developed to correct them. The room was quiet, the initial skepticism evident on their faces. Some exchanged glances, clearly shocked that I had turned the tables so quickly. Then came the inevitable pushback. "We can't sell to you. You're an ex-employee, and frankly," one executive hesitated, "you're older than most of our current management." For a moment, I felt a pang of the old anger, but I pushed it aside. I smiled politely and replied, "Exactly. I know this company inside out. My experience isn't a weakness. It's exactly what this company needs to thrive." The conversation continued, tense but controlled. I had anticipated objections and was prepared for every argument. By the end of the meeting, the board was convinced, not just by my proposal, but by the undeniable proof of my capabilities and the investor backing I had secured. They had no choice but to accept. As the papers were signed, I felt an overwhelming sense of vindication. Those who had called me too old were now reporting to me. I wasn't just reclaiming a job. I was rewriting the rules entirely. The company that had dismissed me became a testament to my perseverance, strategy, and unshakable belief in my own value. That day, I learned that respect isn't demanded, it's earned. And sometimes, it's earned by proving that the very people who doubted you had underestimated you all along. With the company now under my leadership, the sense of accomplishment was immense. But it wasn't just personal victory, it was validation. The team that had once doubted me slowly began to see the difference in direction. Projects that had stagnated were moving forward, client relationships improved, and morale skyrocketed. My experience wasn't a relic of the past. It was the engine driving success. Walking through the office, I noticed subtle changes. Former colleagues greeted me with a mix of respect and disbelief. Some whispered about how quickly things had turned around, while others approached to ask for advice. I realized that leadership isn't about age or status. It's about vision, decisiveness, and the ability to inspire trust. The company wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, all because I refused to let a number define my worth. Reflecting on the journey, I understood that the firing had been a pivotal moment. At first, it felt like humiliation, but in reality, it was a catalyst. It forced me to rethink my strategy, leverage my experience, and take bold risks. It reminded me that setbacks are temporary, but determination and preparation create lasting impact. I also recognized the importance of patience. Each phone call, each client meeting, each strategic step had built momentum that culminated in this triumph. Revenge wasn't about anger. It was about action, precision, and proving value where it mattered most. Looking back, I smile at the irony. The company had called me too old, yet I now lead with authority and vision they couldn't match. I hope my story serves as a reminder. No one can define your potential but you. Age, doubt, and obstacles are temporary. They can either stop you or fuel the fire to achieve more than you imagined. I chose the latter, and today, I'm not just their boss. I'm living proof that experience and resilience are powerful beyond measure. Thank you so much for watching this story till the end. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even learned something from it. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, full of life lessons, drama, and emotions, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss an update. Your support means the world, and it helps me keep bringing you more inspiring and unforgettable stories. Stay tuned because more amazing stories are on the way.